Hello, my name is Scott Cutler and I'm a planner with the City of Wheat Ridge Community Development Department. I'm presenting case number WSP-20-04, which is a request for approval of a master sign plan at 10019 West 26th Avenue and 2625 Kipling Street. I'd like to enter into the public record the contents of the case file, the zoning ordinance, and this digital presentation. The property is within the City of Wheat Ridge. All appropriate notification and posting requirements have been met, and therefore the Planning Commission has jurisdiction to hear this case. This is a 2018 aerial view of the property. Property is located at the northwest corner of 26th Avenue and Kipling Street. It's about 3.6 acres and it fronts 3 public streets with a connection to a 4th on the north side. Those streets are Paramount Parkway, West 26th Avenue, and Kipling Street. Crown Hill Park is to the east across Kipling and Lakewood is to the south. The shopping center was built in 1959, which is 10 years before the City of Wheat Ridge was incorporated. The property is zoned C1, which is Commercial 1 zoning, as are the other commercial properties to the north. There are other residential zone districts to the west and further north. There are commercial and multifamily uses to the south in Lakewood. This is a view looking west from Kipling Street into the shopping center property. You can see the existing freestanding sign in the foreground, which is one of 3 existing freestanding signs and will be replaced by a new sign as proposed by this plan. You can also see the existing Gold's Grocery roof sign in the background, which is on the southeast corner of the building. Site plan recently approved by our department will allow for the renovation of this parking lot and street frontage, adding landscaping and new paving, as well as a renovation of the facades of the building. Those changes are not under review as part of the master sign plan application. This is a view from 26th Avenue looking north into the shopping center on the west side of the site. You can see the existing Davies Chuck Wagon sign, which is proposed to be preserved as part of this sign plan. There's existing wall signage above each tenant space, which will be replaced by new wall signage as part of this plan's requirements. The purpose of a master sign plan is to encourage well-planned, well-designed, and unified signage for a large property while still allowing for the identification of individual businesses and buildings. It can vary from the sign code, which is Article 7 of Chapter 26. It is essentially like a plan development for signage and is approved by the Planning Commission and recorded with Jefferson County. Not all properties are eligible for a master sign plan. They must be at least 2 acres in size, under unified control, and must be comprised of commercial, mixed-use, or industrial development. In this case, the property is at least 2 acres in size, under 1 ownership. Sign plans do not change the zoning or permitted uses, and do not review site or building designs. The locations of the proposed signs are shown in this map. As with all master sign plans, the plan allows some flexibility in final location, but setbacks, maximum height, and maximum size are set in place by this plan. The Davies sign located on the west side may be relocated in its general area to accommodate the new drive aisle through the shopping center. The new freestanding signs replace outdated and non-conforming existing signs and are spaced apart, one towards the western side of the center and one closer to the corner of 26 and Kipling. The roof sign is also proposed to remain. A full analysis of the master sign plan is provided in the staff report. Signage is expected to comply with the standards in the city sign code except as modified by this master sign plan. I'll go through the applicant's requests. On this page is a proposed rendering of the 2 new multi-tenant freestanding signs. They are limited to 200 square feet, which is less than the 400 square feet allowed by code, and limited to 15 or 16 feet in height depending on the sign. The applicant is proposing reduced setbacks to allow the site's parking lot improvements to flow without interruption from signage and will allow the new freestanding signs to be located in landscaped areas. Preserving the Davies sign adds character to the frontage and will act as a single-tenant sign, not an additional multi-tenant sign. Staff believes the request to be appropriate given the size of the shopping center and believe the signs to be relatively modest compared to the surrounding signage. For wall signs, the master sign plan proposes an increased allowance of 1.5 square feet for every linear foot of the facade, which is a 1.5 to 1 ratio, and is larger than the standard 1 to 1 ratio. Signs will also be allowed to face parking lots not on major interior drives, such as on the north facade. All copy is required to be channel letters, except in areas designated as wall art locations. Tenants are only granted one sign per frontage, and only on the side of the building where their entrance is located. Letter size is limited on portions of the building for consistency and so that larger tenant spaces cannot have oversized signs. 3 wall signs are also proposed to act as directional up-down signs to identify stairwells for building access and are limited to 30 square feet. While the size allowance, the 1.5 to 1 ratio, is larger than city code, the other restrictions put in place, such as the requirement for channel letters and maximum letter size, will result in a more cohesive development with minimal overall impact. The additional directional signs will help customers navigate the site and access stairs and parking areas. For leasing signs, City Code does not specifically define or regulate leasing signs, but a leasing sign would be considered a temporary sign and limited to 2 per property. The plan requests an increase to 4 allowed leasing signs with a maximum height of 8 feet and a minimum setback of 3 feet. The signs would be allowed to be banner or wood, and the maximum size would be 32 square feet, which is consistent with City Code. Window sign, banners, and decals depicting renderings for the project are also allowed on the south side of storefront windows during construction. Staff finds that these changes are acceptable given the size of the property, the number of frontages, and the amount of empty tenant spaces that need to be advertised. This is an example of an acceptable new sign category of sign created by a master sign plan and is also found in other master sign plans in the city. For window and door signs, the code says that they may not obstruct more than 25% of the door or window area and must be affixed to, painted on, applied to, or hanging within 12 inches of the window. The sign plan proposes changing this last requirement to within 2 feet of the door or window. All other requirements, including the 25% coverage, will remain the same. This request is minimal and staff has no concern. If anything, the window signs set further back will have less impact. The applicant has proposed preserving the existing roof sign but changing the copy to identify the development as a whole. Roof signs are now prohibited by the sign code, but a master sign plan may be used to preserve an existing non-conforming sign such as this. The sign was installed when roof signs were permitted. The size and height of the sign may not increase. Staff does not have concerns with the preservation of the sign. It has become a noticeable identifier of the property and an iconic sign at the south entrance of the city. Keeping the sign in place will preserve the identity of the shopping center even after significant renovations and site changes are made. The sign is set back significantly from the street and neighboring properties, limiting its impact. To summarize the request, the sign plan is fairly limited in its scope with very few deviations from city code. The noticeable changes are 1 additional freestanding sign, slightly larger wall signs, and the preservation of a long existing roof sign in exchange for smaller freestanding signs than allowed and more strict wall sign design. The application was sent on referral to city agencies as well as outside agencies, and there were no concerns during the referral process. Before the hearing, the property is posted for 15 days, and letters were sent to property owners within a 300-foot radius. This presentation is available for viewing on the Wheat Ridge Speaks website and is also presented at the public hearing. It was determined the site is eligible for a master sign plan, promotes well-planned and well-designed signage, and is appropriate for the context of the development. For all of those reasons, staff is recommending approval of the request. Recommended conditions of approval are provided in the staff report. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.